Hey there, it's Dusty with a story for you. This one is, am I the astronaut for not letting my mother-in-law stay the night at our house right after I give birth? I, 28 female, and my husband, 27 male, are expecting a baby soon. My parents live close by, while his mom is a few states away. I have a good relationship with his mom, but we aren't very close. It's mostly polite conversations when she visits. I'm happy for her to visit as soon as the baby is born. Since it's hard to predict the exact date, we plan to call her and my sister, who also lives out of state, when I go into labor. They know they're both welcome to book a flight right away or wait until after the birth, whatever works for them. I recently told my husband I did not want anybody staying overnight at our house for the first few days after birth. He seemed surprised, but supported me, and we agreed to let everyone know. I told my mom first, explaining family is welcome to visit all day and into the evening, but I wanted the first few nights to bond as a family and adjust without overnight guests. This is our first and likely only baby, and I want to treasure those moments. I also explained that while I appreciate people wanting to help, having guests, even well-meaning ones, can be overwhelming. I have a lot of social anxiety, a low social battery, and expect to feel exhausted and vulnerable after birth. Not to mention, both of our mothers have no problem telling us what we're doing wrong and how we should be doing things. My mom to me and his mom to him. Oh, that sounds so helpful. I suspect it might be hard having people over all day when I'm that tired and emotionally vulnerable right after giving birth, but I understand grandparents wanting to be around the baby right away, and having some time to ourselves at night felt like a good compromise. My mom understood and offered for my mother-in-law to stay at her house, which has a comfortable guest room. We also offered to pay for a nice waterside hotel, giving her 2 options. When my husband explained this to his mom, she became upset and said that if she couldn't stay with us, she wouldn't come at all.
That was a good compromise.
Yeah, no, you gave her 2 really, really good options, and she took her ball and went home. This response threw me off. We've always hosted her before, even though having guests makes us anxious. I've never said no because she's family and I feel that I should get over my anxiety, but I feel the first few days after birth are different. My husband is supportive and says it's my decision, but I know he wants her to come. I want that too, for her to meet her grandchild and for my husband's sake, but her reaction has left me feeling anxious and panicked about labor all of the sudden. I'm torn. Not yet, you're not. If I give in, I'll feel overwhelmed and resentful, affecting the experience and weeks left leading up to it. If I don't, I'm afraid it will hurt my relationship with her and disappoint my husband, even though it's her choice not to come. Does anybody have advice? Are the first few days after birth a good enough reason to stick to what makes me comfortable, even if it upsets her? I'm trying to find a solution that works for everyone, but I'm struggling. Obviously sticking with an NTA. I'm going to go ahead and flip that up. Let's make that official here. But for mama, gosh dang it, grandma, or soon to be grandma, it's not about you, bish. And I understand that your husband wants his mom to be there and you want her to be there to meet her grandchild, but that's the extent of it, right? It's not because she's going to be a huge help. It's because you want them to be able to meet their new grandbebe. And that's great. Love that for you. You have been extremely reasonable at every step here. You have offered compromises. You've offered alternatives. You have hosted up to this point and forced your anxiety to take a back seat, which may be coming back to bite you in the ass now. That might be the one thing where you could have done this differently, and that is leading up to this point, like had some firmer boundaries when it came to your social anxiety, because that's a real thing, and not letting her encroach upon that and do damage to you might have made this an easier situation now, maybe, but it sounds like she's using this opportunity to make everything about her. It's not about her. This is not about her. And if she's going to be a little toddler now and be like, oh, if I can't get everything I want, then I'm just going home. Cool. We'll send you pictures. We'll put one of her dirty diapers in the mail for you. That way you can, bond with the smell of her. No. I'm sorry, this is not about you. They offered to get you a freaking waterside hotel or let you stay in a bougie guest room at her mom's house. You said no because you were just being difficult. And guess what, mother-in-law? You had at least one kid in some file way back in long-term memory. You remember what it's like, and you know full well that right now you are causing stress, which is not good leading up to labor, and you give zero shits. Grandma, this is an Ask On One moment for you. Yeah, terrible. The worst of the worst. It's terrible. Why would you take this opportunity to make it about you? Why would you take this opportunity to only think about yourself? It makes no sense at all. None. There's physical detriment here. You get the bizzo too. Hatter, why are mother-in-laws like this? Have you forgotten how it was giving birth in the recovery process? I wonder that too, because they had kids. Has it been so long that they just forgot everything and now they're at a point in life where they make everything about them and they just roll this right into it? Or is it an extension of the whole mother-in-law, I must control everything? Or is it also fueled by her prized possession, her son, now not just getting married, but having a child with someone else, and there has to be some kind of stink created here for her to put up some kind of fight? I do not understand. Tater Thunder, what do you think? Would you like to jump up and give some thoughts here? You've had babies. I have not. Ladies and gentlemen, heat lamp activated for Tater Thunder. It's Tater Thoughts time.
I think that the alternative that they gave to the mother-in-law was fine. I mean, there was no issue with it to stay. You could stay as long as you want during the day, throughout the evening, but they wanted to bond as a family at night. It is different for the mother-in-law, and I understand and respect that because the mother-in-law is not biologically related to the mom, the one that is giving birth, the one that is going through it. So she's going to probably feel more comfortable with her mom in that scenario, but she even gave the same set of rules to her mom, and her mom had no issue with it. So I do not understand why mother-in-law is disrespecting them in this way and saying and I guess we learned last live, if you give an ultimatum, you have to be, you have to know that they can go the other way. Even if you give that ultimatum, they can still choose the other thing. You're giving them two options.
Yeah.
You don't get control over which one they choose. And if this was me, I would say then don't come. If you can't respect what we've said, then you can't come.
And Brenna here says she'll cave if you say no. She's calling your bluff. That's possible.
Yeah, I think she will too. I think if you say no, this is something we've decided as a family and what we want to stick to. And if they go against that, or if she still wants to go against that, then that's on her. That's not on you. You have not given this boundary is in no way disrespectful to your mother-in-law because you gave it to your mom and to your mother-in-law.
Yeah.
And it's very equal. It's very fair. The mother-in-law has a guest room with no money up front to stay in at your mom's house, and no.
Or a hotel.
You have done everything right.
That they were going to pay for if she didn't want to stay with her mom. So there's no reason for her to say no except for ego.
Right.
That's it. Ego's the only thing.
I can't, obviously I can't speak to being a grandma. I haven't been there yet or done that yet, but I can't imagine not respecting what our children tell us they want from us in that time of need. Whether it be nothing, I don't know, but I'm not going to overstep in that moment. One, because I've seen all these stories and I know what it looks like. And I don't want to be on the end of that.
We're learning ahead of time.
Yeah.
I feel like we're going to be really good grandparents because we're learning ahead of time. Do you think part of this is like a parent having trouble letting go of having authority over a child? Do you think that's part of this? Because it's her first grandbaby, I think. At least that's my understanding. So I don't know. That's the only thing I can think of. But you have to realize as a parent of a grown ass adult,
right?
Like you don't have the ability to ground them or send them to the room anymore. You don't get to tell them what to do.
I'm wondering if the husband's mom feels uncomfortable staying somewhere she's never stayed, and it's all feeling overwhelming in that moment, and she responded poorly, and maybe she'll right her wrong. And I hope that that's what happens, because maybe she too has social anxiety, and staying with someone that she's not really familiar with is making her feel whatever. But I hope that she rights her wrong and doesn't cause any more drama for this family leading up to the birth. I hope that she figures it out and hey, I overstepped. I'm sorry. Yes, please sign me up for the free room.
Yeah, but being able to do that requires being able to self-reflect and acknowledge that you're wrong and then apologize requires so much emotional maturity that is just rare to see in people, unfortunately.
I think that, and someone else said, I think this is up to the dad, the hubby, to fix with his mom. And I agree. I think it's on him to fix this. He has to, whether he wants to or whether he wants to give her time to cool off, whatever that looks like. But it's on him to fix. Not on the woman who's getting ready to give birth.
If we were in this situation, it would be, it would be on me.
And if I was in this situation, I wouldn't have cared if either one of our moms had stayed. I would be like, please do.
Yeah, but nighttime's a little bit different.
It is, but I wouldn't have felt put out. Your mom and my mom do not give me social anxiety. So for me, this is different. But us being like a bonded family was something that was very important to you right after Navy was born. But to have one of our moms stay wouldn't make me feel any certain way.
And maybe that's the hurdle that OP and mother-in-law have to overcome here. But mother-in-law lives, hours away?
Yeah.
So it's hard to have, a very, very comfortable in physical presence relationship with somebody when you don't get to see them very often. So.
I agree. And it's hard to feel comfortable. And if this is your first baby and you're having, she said it was her first and only probably, to feel, I felt really like overwhelmed after I gave birth the first time. And I don't think anything prepares you for how you're going to feel after that moment. The books tell you, but they don't really tell you. So I think she's right to want to do this whatever way is going to make her feel the most comfortable. And I felt after my first and second completely different scenarios after those two. But I think whatever makes this woman giving birth feel the most comfortable is what she has to do for herself.
Yeah, agreed. Hey, it is Dusty with another story for you. This one is titled, Am I the Astronaut for Telling My Husband to Figure Out How to Take Care of Our Son? I, 30 female, and my husband, 33 male, welcomed our first child this past September. I've been fortunate to be on maternity leave, but that ends next week. My husband had 2 months off and has been working full-time since. He's off Sundays and Mondays. I have never left my son except to go to a wedding in December, but we were only away for 3 of his wake hours. My in-laws watched over him and everything was fine. I go back to work next week and my son will be attending daycare. My husband is off this entire week and we've just been taking a staycation. I told my husband, though, I want 1 day on my own to get more comfortable from being away from our baby and that I want him to have the day with the baby on his own. He's never been alone with him for more than an hour. He's a good father, though, and he will help out when needed, but he has never been there for the full-blown cries and fussiness while having to take care of the house. A few days ago, we went to a friend's house and our son was screaming bloody hell. When I held him, he would calm down. Whenever my husband would hold him, he would just scream and cry even louder, so my husband just passed him along to me. I was getting frustrated because I wanted to relax with friends and he couldn't calm him down for a minute. Today, he tells me that his mom will be coming to help out. I asked him to tell her never mind because he should be able to do it on his own. He called me ridiculous and it shouldn't matter, but I think it really does. I can't be bothered at work unless absolutely necessary, so I wanted this to be our trial. His mom will also be working on Mondays, so it's not like she'll be available to help out then. His mom is taking his side, but of course she will, because our son is her only grandson. So am I the astronaut for telling my husband to figure it out and to step up? This is my first AITA post and I'm frustrated just writing this, so if you need more details to decide, just let me know and I will respond. We have some edits to add. Let me get into those in a moment here. But yeah, the red flag for me, and I'm going to go ahead and drop it now, and I'll wave it too, is Dad never of his own volition jumping in and being like, hey, let me take it for a while because I want to be able to do this. I feel like that's something as a father that you need to do. You need to jump in and be like, hey, I got it. You don't bond unless you have that time together. And I tell you, like, mom being 2 feet away where the baby can smell her is not the time, right? You need to be on your own for a while to truly figure it out. Now, having some guidance and having some training and having some even documentation to be able to follow would be great. But you've got to do it on your own. It's a fire you have to walk through. You can't just plug into the Matrix and be like, oh, I know Kung Fu and I'm a good dad. It doesn't happen like that. You have to actually do the work. Let's get into the edits to add. If I can find them. Here we are. Edit to add. I had a C-section and I exclusively breastfeed, so I physically could not leave the baby in the first 2 months. My lactation consultant told me to not pump until after 2 months as I needed to establish my milk supply. He took care of me while I took care of the baby. He doesn't do nothing. When I started pumping, husband was already at work. Husband does do feedings now. Edit to add 2, this isn't a punch toward his mother. I adore her. It's really about him being independent with the baby. She helps us, and I always appreciate it. I don't know why y'all think I'm spiteful. Edit to add 3, when my husband is home, I do separate myself from them by going to a different room. But he does often come to the room for help. I'm not just dropping him off. Too long don't read. I'm taking a day away from my husband and son to be more comfortable with going back to work. Husband has never done a day alone with son, so I asked him to try and figure it out, and I'll be available if needed. He told his mother to come help. I said no. He thinks I'm being ridiculous. Why wouldn't you want to try and do it on your own? It's terrifying. Look, like, I understand it is terrifying being a first-time father and having no fucking clue what you're doing. But how do you expect to learn if you're asking someone else to do it for you? How do you expect? And you know that's what mommy would come over and do. There wouldn't be like a, okay, learning moment. Let's work on changing a diaper. I'll monitor and give you some helpful tips once you get through doing the first one on your own. Then we can walk through the second one a little bit better. It's not going to be like that. It's going to be like, oh, I'll take care of it. You just sit down and put your feet up, sweetie. Would you like some tea? It's going to be that. You've got to show the initiative to try and figure it out on your own. Katie, truth. Women aren't born knowing how to care for children. We have to learn too. Yeah, it's the same. You both start with a clean slate, right? There may be some more maternal instincts baked in, ready to be unlocked, but knowledge-wise, yeah, you're both blank slating it going into this. OP knows what's going to happen and knows that he needs to try. And also, he didn't talk to her about this ahead of time. He just went ahead and invited his mom. That to me says he is not planning on doing this so he can have a coach there. He's doing it because he's terrified and he wants someone else to just do it for him because he's terrified. Hey there, it's Dusty with yet another story for you. This one is, am I the astronaut for completely refusing to participate in Valentine's? I've 30, been with my girlfriend 29 for 9 months now, and I would say we have a great relationship. We've been friends for over 15 years, and last year I finally mustered up the courage to tell her how I felt about her. This is my first serious relationship, so I've always been single on Valentine's and never thought much about it, besides thinking it was a stupid, made-up Hallmark holiday created to scam people out of money. I'm guessing you told your girlfriend that, too? I hate the fuss of pretty much all holidays, but my girlfriend, on the other hand, she loves them all, including Valentine's Day. All right, so we got somebody who's like all in, and we have an old curmudgeon. That's a good balance. I was babysitting her cats last week while she was away for work, and I found a gift box that was addressed to me next to a really long letter and a card next to it. I didn't read it, but right away I could tell it was for Valentine's. When she got home, I told her I don't participate in Valentine's Day and don't plan on doing anything that day. She was visibly upset, but she didn't make a big deal about it. She explained to me that she has always loved Valentine's and even treats her friends to little gifts, and she just wanted to do something special for me. She said I don't have to get her anything, and what she got me was just something sentimental, and assured me she didn't spend any money on it. That's great, but I told her I didn't even want to have to open it on Valentine's Day because that would be participating in the day, and then I would feel bad for not getting her something, and that's where the disagreement started. That kind of feels like mid-disagreement to me, but okay. After a lot of back and forth, I finally agreed I would open it on Valentine's Day, but made it clear I wouldn't be getting her anything. Let's do another one of these. I didn't want her to have expectations on that day. She told me that was fine and said we could just spend the night together and watch a movie or something, to which I told her I probably won't be doing that either because Valentine's falls on a Friday this year, and that's the day I play poker with my friends every week, which she knows about. There's more to the story, but I just want to take this time out and say this to OP. This is your first girlfriend, your first serious relationship. You said so. This is your first serious relationship. So how about you don't walk into this like you've got some long-standing rules for relationships? How about you walk into this with a little bit of an open mind and actually try to make something work instead of being like, don't get on my lawn, get off my lawn. Every time she suggests doing something that you have just decided that you is some kind of conspiracy, okay? It's not. Oh gosh. You have a lot of single man opinions. And this is going to be a self-fulfilling prophecy here. You are going to, with each one of these decisions, be choosing to be a little more single until you are fully single. I can tell she's upset with me now, and I feel like I'm being guilted into partaking in something I don't believe in. Since this is my first serious relationship. Oh, that's what you don't believe in. You don't believe in serious relationships. Now I get it. I can't tell if I'm being too stubborn on this or if I should keep my foot down. If you shut it down anymore, it's going to be in your stomach. It's not like I don't do nice things throughout the year either. When she had surgery a few months ago, I got her flowers. And when we first started seeing each other, I got her just because flowers. He's bought 2 flowers in his whole life, ladies and gentlemen. Let's take a moment to give this guy a round of applause. I got us matching rings for Christmas and put effort in there. I just don't want to be made to partake in a dumb, made-up holiday. Like I said, my girlfriend loves the fuss of all holidays. My birthday was in December, and she went all out for it. I've never experienced that before, and she did make the day really special for me, so a part of me does feel guilty for not wanting to get her anything for Valentine's Day, but that's just my beliefs surrounding that day, and although she seems to be understanding, I can tell she's disappointed. So, am I the asshole here? It's at least a 2 for me. This isn't like intentional evil. This is dumbass dude evil. So it's a brozo ask on 2 for me. Frankie G dropping the $2 super said Opie's girlfriend needs to run for the hills. I just don't. Why? Why would you step into your first serious relationship at the ripe old age of 30 and be like, these are my staunchly firm beliefs? Oh, Valentine's just a made-up commercial holiday. Okay, look, it doesn't matter if it was started as a commercial holiday or not. I know not. I care not. If it is an opportunity, a rare opportunity to show the people that you love them, especially your romantic partner, it is an opportunity to do something to show someone that they matter. It doesn't matter where you go, if you go spend a shit ton of money or not. That would be the gauge of participating in the commercial side of the holiday. The emotional side of the holiday is not built by Hallmark, is not part of the machine to make money. It is an opportunity to be human and to show someone else that you see them and you appreciate them. That is it. That is the part that you are refusing to do here. And I don't know if you understand how dumb this makes you sound. Also, either mama's boy or only child, because this is giving, I don't want anybody to tell me what to do. Like holidays, he feels like our society telling him what to do. And he's like, no, I'm not going to do what you tell me to do. Listening to Rage Against the Machine. He's like, F you, I won't do what you tell me. That's it. I'm getting the, like, don't tell me what to do vibes. Okay, be single then. That's it. That's the other side of this, dude. Like, be single. Sandra says, I say ask on 1 because he intentionally is choosing poker over spending time with her. That's a whole nother layer to this, but it's attached to his belief or disbelief in this day. Katie sounds like girlfriend's love language is also gift giving, and he doesn't understand that at all. At least dropping the $5 super said, hot topic, when do you ask someone to be their Valentine? The day of or weeks leading up? We've gone around on this lately. Ooh, I would say it's before, right? I don't know that's even a thing anymore, actually. Like being my Valentine, sorry, that was an erp. Being my Valentine, I think if you're dating somebody, they're automatically your Valentine. I've never witnessed the ask of someone being like, be my Valentine. What does that mean? Like you're together for one day? What happens after? Now we know where his girlfriend ranks against the boys. Ooh, okay. So maybe this is a little bit backwards. I looked at him choosing poker time with the boys as a byproduct of his belief in the holiday. Maybe it starts with his allegiance to the boys and everything else is just bullshit. It's a bullshit excuse, possibly. Hey there, ladies and gents, I got a story for you, and it's one of these. Spicy story. Title of this story is, Am I the Astronaut for Convincing My Girlfriend to Abandon Her Child So We Can Be Together? I, 32 male, have been dating my girlfriend, 28 female, for a little over 2 years. When we first met, she was a single mom to a 7-year-old boy from a previous relationship. She never planned on being a mother and had him due to unfortunate circumstances. She's always been upfront that she felt trapped by motherhood and didn't have much of a bond with her son. Red flag number 1. As we got more serious, she started expressing how much she wanted a fresh start, a life where she wasn't held back by her past. She felt guilty about it, but admitted that raising her son alone had taken a huge toll on her mentally and financially. I told her that if she truly felt that way, she should consider other options, including giving full custody to her ex, who has always wanted more involvement, or even a close relative like her mother, who has her son for the majority of the time anyway, due to her job. He had been asking for it for a while, and she just didn't seem ready to be a mom. She told me she didn't feel like she was cut out for it, and after hearing how much stress it was causing her, I thought giving him a stable home with his dad would be the best for everyone. After a lot of discussion and hesitation, which lasted months, she had finally made the decision to give full custody to her ex, move to a new city with me. Her company had opened up a new branch there, so she had to move anyway and start over. She says she feels relieved, like a weight has been lifted off her shoulders. But now everyone in her life is calling her a terrible person, saying that I manipulated her into abandoning her child. Even though I never forced her, they see me as a villain for convincing her. Now, a few weeks later, her son called her. He was crying. He said he missed her and didn't understand why she wasn't there anymore. Hearing that completely crushed her. She's been really upset, and honestly, I'm torn up too. I thought I was helping, but now I'm questioning everything. I feel like I made the wrong decision, like I pushed her into something that's hurting both of them. What could be giving you that clue? What freaking Drano diet have you been on that at any point in time where you were like, this seems like the smartest thing to do? It seems smart. And not understand that in the same breath of suggesting that, telling her that she should move to a new city with you. Update. Me and my girlfriend read through the comments. I realized I was an asshole here by encouraging her irrational thoughts about upping and leaving. Oh, I think you did a little more than encourage her irrational thoughts, sir. You planted seeds and watered them on the daily and then harvested that shit. You might be a little more responsible than just encouraging her thoughts. My girlfriend had a long talk with her son and her ex today about what she did and how much she regrets it. She's going to be calling him her son daily now to keep contact, but she can't move back just yet since she's still helping in setting up the new branch in this city. But she'll move back as soon as possible because she loves her son. I'll move back with her because I want whatever she wants. She's going to look for a therapist too. That's the end of the story. That's the end of the story. Okay. Hey, I think, buddy, we've established that maybe you aren't the best thing for her. Maybe what you did here is damaging enough that I can't be the only one seeing this, and her entire family and everybody connected to this kid's life has to see this as well. They do, because they already said that you were the villain for convincing her to do this. You did. There's no way that you can look at this and say, I did not plant these seeds and water them and harvest them. There's no way that you cannot say that. No, I understand what you're saying. You're talking to a person that you love and their mental health is suffering, and you propose a possible solution and you think it's this pure thing. But understand that you can't just make and throw out these ideas that affect children. This is real life with real consequences. And guess what? Being a parent is hard. Being a young parent, harder. I did find it interesting though. She said raising him all on her own has been extremely taxing on her mentally and financially. But then you talked about how her son is with her mom most of the time because of work, and how the child's dad was involved and wanted to be more involved. So exactly how all on her own was she? It's a fustercluck. And to have this person now who is like, I want what she wants. Yeah, we got that. You know what? Because here's the deal, though. To be a true partner to somebody, you have to also be, what's the word I'm looking for? A little bit of a filter, right? You have to be an idea board. You have to be someone that they can bounce ideas off of, and a safe space where they can say the shit they can't say around anybody else. That does not mean it is your duty to enable everything they say. It does not mean it is your job to make every dark wish they have come true. She comes home exhausted one day and was like, you ever think about just leaving it all behind and moving out into the mountains? Next day, this guy's hauling their asses out to the mountains. Everybody gets fried. Encouraging somebody to take their fried and abandon their child can be seen as nothing but shitty ass con one behavior, in my opinion. Good point here, Lady Artemis. It is an ESH. Well, not everybody in the story. The child obviously doesn't suck. The ex doesn't suck because the ex wanted to be more involved and got more involved. The mom doesn't suck because she's involved. She cares. She took him in whenever OP's girlfriend just off and left. But OP and the girlfriend both suck pretty bad. Tater, thoughts?
You nailed it.
Come on up. We got to get your opinion here because okay, so on the dude side, it is very easy to be like team partner. Right? I'm Team Candy all the way. And if Candy Thunder like has a problem or says something, I'm gonna do my best to do the right thing for her. There's a difference between doing what she wants and doing the right thing for her. And I think that's where you're missing a little bit of maybe life experience, OP, because you may, if I enabled every single whim that you had when you had it, we'd have a house full of kittens and puppies. Right?
That's still happening, by the way. No, I understand, and I agree with everything that you're saying. You don't need a partner that's going to bend to your every whim, to your every will. You need a partner that's going to be there for you in everything that you need. And this was not that. And I actually don't blame him. He was a bad influence. She allowed herself to be influenced by his bad behavior.
You don't blame him for what happened.
I do not. I blame the mom.
She had to make that choice, right? He didn't force her. He didn't force her to do it. Yep. She's.
Here's what I do know, and being a single parent, I know that it's really hard. And there are times when you really want to just be like, what am I doing? Why am I doing? This is so hard. But you don't walk away, because every time you fall down, you pick yourself back up and you do what's right by your child because you chose to bring that child into this world in whatever way you brought them into this world. And you don't get to just give them back. You don't return to sender. You don't drop them on somebody else's doorstep. You do what's right for your child because that's what you promised to do when you brought them into this world. And as a mom, I'm not going to just let some guy walk into my life and feed into those intrusive thoughts and just allow me to abandon the one person in this world who is depending on me for their life. I would never ever allow someone to walk in my life and do that to me. And if they even had those thoughts, if they entertained those thoughts, if they came to me like this guy came to her, you get the fuck out of my life. I don't want any part of you because you are not good for me. Telling me that I need to walk away from my child is not good for me. Telling me to do my job and be there for my child is something that you need. And sometimes you need tough love. And I 100% support that. And this woman was capable of being a parent. She needed more. She had support. She said that her mom had the child most of the time.
Yeah. Well, look, a true partnership looks like this. If one parent walks in and was like, I'm so mentally fried, I just can't. Mm-hmm. The other one says, take a break. I got this.
Exactly. But
helping wasn't an option here. And also,
right,
you have a responsibility to think long term and not think about the morphine effect here. The morphine effect of momentarily solving or feeling like your problem is solved, but it's just a placebo, right? There's no, the problem isn't solved because now you've caused even more long-term damage. This child is now going to have issues for life. Mom's going to have issues for the rest of her life as well. Right. The ripple effect from this is going to be massive. And this is what happens whenever idiot people start making decisions that affect families.
You know, this is actually one of the, I don't think that this guy has kids, obviously, or else he wouldn't have given this recommendation.
Or if he does, he doesn't.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
We had the question was, parents or people who have never had kids, who's going to give the best parenting advice?
Mm-hmm. Oh, that's part of the Imperfect Storms podcast.
Yes, that was one of the questions. And it was an unpopular opinion that stating that people who don't have kids would give better advice than people who had kids as for parents. And here's a story that 100% goes against that unpopular opinion because this guy had no idea the ramifications of what he was doing to a child and telling her to just abandon her child. I don't think that there's any parent who's ever said they haven't had a hard day or they haven't wanted to walk away because it's difficult. It's hard.
Everybody gets pushed to the edge.
And I don't think that we should fault ourselves for having those thoughts, but I think it's what you do with those thoughts that really defines who you are as a person and who you are as a parent.
Yeah.
And this woman made a huge mistake, and I hope that she fixes the mistake that she's made.
I don't know that there's true fixing it. I think there's...
No, she's done damage.
I think you can come back to 75% at best.
Right.
Also, this, speaking of OP's girlfriend now, should give you a really good clue into how this person will live the rest of their life. It's all about short-term decision making, right? What decision will bring me the most pleasure right now, ignoring any kind of pain it's going to cause anybody else. Look at that. So this is, this is, I would not expect any kind of stability from somebody like this.
No, and thankfully that the child had family. Thankfully they had the other parent that wanted to step up for them, the mom, the grandma that was there for them.
Because they would have ended up in the system.
I don't know. For me personally, I can't look at my 7-year-old child and say, this is just too hard. Like, I can't do this. Do I have those thoughts? Yes. But am I going to allow myself to do that? No. I would never listen to that. I would never allow the voice inside my head to tell me that I can't be the mom that I want to be.
Hold on, how can you say all of this shit and be like, she's a great woman? No, she's not. No. Hey there, it's Dusty with another story for you. This one is titled, Am I the Astronaut for Changing My Mind on Wanting Kids and Saying I've Never Been More Disappointed in My Wife? The context doesn't, my wife and I are both 27. We got married at 21. I know that's young. We never wanted kids and agreed to it. In August, my wife's sister and her husband died. We have taken care of their kids, 6 and 3, since. She is a godmother to the 6-year-old and I'm a godfather to the 3-year-old. We had a really good relationship with their parents. Her husband was my pub/football buddy, etc. We recently were asked about our intentions with the kids. We had a huge fight. She wants to put them in foster care, but I don't. Financially, we're very good. No debt. Own our home, inherited. I have a successful business. She has been very successful so far in her job, etc. She said she doesn't want to be tied down to kids. I said, it wouldn't have been my first choice either, but they're family. She said, I knew you'd change your mind on kids. I was like, I didn't change my mind. The circumstances changed. I asked her if she didn't see a duty to them, and she said, no. Time out real quick. Being a godparent is something that like somebody just throws at you, right? That's something that they ask you if you are willing to take the title of, and you say yes or no, correct? So she agreed to this. She accepted the responsibility when she said yes to that. And now, rather than being upfront back then and saying no so they could find somebody else who would take care of these kids, she's changing her mind and wants to put them in foster care? Yeah, that's a red flag. She said they'll get a family maybe with kids already in the home and they'll be better off. And I said if they don't get a family or if they get a family, that isn't great. She said, I'm not caring for them. The ball's in your court. I asked if she was 100% certain. She said, yeah. I was honestly shocked and I said, I've never been disappointed in her. She said, likewise. We have never argued ever. Maybe a fun argument over what show to watch. Now we aren't even talking. We still give each other a morning kiss and cuddle, but that's about it. Selfishly, there's a tiny part of me wondering if she would feel any responsibility to me if something happened to me. I know that's unfair. I also find it incredibly heartless. The eldest still cries many nights. You can see the sadness in him. To say into foster care you go, au revoir, it's mind-blowing to me. Just for balance, I do love her, and she's a great woman. Am I the astronaut? Hold up. How can you say all of this shit and be like, she's a great woman? No, she's not. No. To have the capacity to say, yeah, I know I accepted this job like way back when. Honestly, I thought it was just like a title. And I don't want these kids, send them into the system. Does that sound like great woman material to you? No. It gets complicated because he's only a godparent to one of them, right? I don't know how that would work, but yes, you know what? Live your best life as a dad to these kids. I understand that's a tall order. I get it. But it's the right thing to do. And I think you doing anything other than that would live a life full of regret. She somehow will not. I don't know how. This is a Horcrux moment. Edit. Let's not come after my wife. She's been through a lot. Buddy, wait, hold up. What? We disagree, but some of the language is disgusting. If you think it's AI crap, then move on. I'm sick of seeing it. I've enough to be dealing with without you spamming that. Godparent equals guardian where we live. My godparents wouldn't have been my legal guardian, but we are family. Another edit. I'm logging off so I won't be answering. I hoped for a bit of help. The spamming was just too much. I suppose don't look for advice from online. Thanks to the people who were kind enough, even if they don't agree with my ultimate decision, being to prioritize my wife. Sorry if I didn't reply. Top comment, NAH, not asshole, yet. Would you be willing to parent these children without your wife? If so, then it's time to talk to a lawyer. If not, then it's time to talk to a couples counselor. If you are determined to be these children's parent, you will be doing it alone. Your wife has made it clear there are 0 circumstances under which she wants to be a parent. You will wind up either divorced or the children will grow up knowing they are unwanted orphans. If you are not willing to parent those children alone, you're still going to have to deal with that. You're going to resent her until the decision sits right with you, and that might be never. Next day edit. For the audience hung up on the meaning of the term godparent, check OP's edit. Your version is not going to change OP's version or the degree of commitment implied, nor is it at all relevant to my guidance. The situation is what it is. Okay, yeah, the situation is what it is, even if there's no legal obligation here. Whenever you accepted the title, you accepted the job. You can say no to somebody asking if you will be the godparent to their child. You can say no. But right now, OP, you're the only one willing. So what are you going to do? Like, I know that in your mind, you're in denial about the amount of evil that resides within your wife. To be able to take the gig and then renege on it after the fact and be willing to send these kids into the system because she f***ed up. And you're ignoring all of this and be like, she's a great woman. You're in denial on that. I understand that. You don't want to accept it because the woman you love and never argue with and see as a perfect angel has a demon that you just saw for the first time and you are in denial about it. I understand that. But at some point, the reality of this is going to settle in and you are going to see that and you are going to see the fork in the road, which is I am going to take the lit path that looks hard as hell and choose to be a father to these 2 kids who have no one else. Or I'm going to choose to walk alongside my clearly selfish and self-absorbed wife and leave these kids to go into the system. Also, by the way, this decision plants a seed for something that's going to happen later on this dark path. She's already chosen herself to the detriment of other human beings once. Who's to say it won't happen again? There's a degree of risk you have to accept going down that path. And also accepting the damage to your soul that ignoring the lit path is going to do here. You know what the right decision is. What are you going to do? I can't even remember the question. The question was, am I the astronaut for changing my mind on wanting kids and saying I've never been more disappointed in my wife? We were dead wrong. It is an NTA, yet I agree with the commenter. You're NTA for that specifically. For deciding you do want kids and saying you're disappointed in your wife more so than ever before? Yeah. Where you go in this situation can still determine a lot. Title-wise, NTA. Complex situation-wise, TBD. The right decision is almost always the harder one. Tilda and Maggie. Yeah. I would say it appears to be. But the damage that the easy decision, the wrong choice ends up doing, in the long run, the right decision is almost always less work. It takes the same amount of effort to choose right or to choose wrong. Based on the comments, it sounds like he's going to choose his wife in this situation. Right there with her. Okay, he's looking at the situation and saying, I gave 2 parties my word. Obviously, the word that I gave to my wife would supersede all others. That's the direction that he's taking this. Like this one here. Then he's an ask on one because he did the same thing and took the gig and then said he didn't want it. When it involves the welfare of children, that's an ask on one move. It's worse. I don't have worse on my scale yet.
He's saying like he's apparently her father died. So like one comment, he was replying to somebody talking bad about his wife. He says, she's my wife. She's not a worthless scumbag. I wouldn't be happy about it, but I love her and I made vows. So that goes back to the whole he's just sticking with it.
So where does your word matter and where does it not? Because he made a vow when he chose to become a godparent as well. So which vow is unbreakable? Which one's more important? Hey there, it's Dusty with a Best of Redditor update story for you. This one is my 30 female student, 18 male, made a super creepy comment. My husband, 35 male, thinks I'm being paranoid. Trigger warnings: stalking, harassment, invasion of privacy. Originally posted January 21st, 2025. I'm a high school English teacher and have been for a few years. In that time, as a woman, I've been used to teenage boys behaving awkwardly around me sometimes, and pheromones are a part of the deal. There have been occasional comments, but generally the vein of, Miss So-and-so has a crush on you, or Miss, would you be so-and-so's Valentine? It's all in good humor. Well, look, there it is, being a Valentine. I'll be damned. It's all in good humor in front of the whole class or a large group and is well-meaning. My school throws a January ball for seniors, 16 to 18, which is basically an opportunity to celebrate the start of another calendar year. As it's after hours, not every teacher has to attend, and this year I was asked to chaperone. There's no alcohol permitted, but obviously some of them sneak hip flasks and so on. During this month's ball, 2 students were huddled at a table in the corner of the hall, not dancing, just keeping to themselves. I know them well as problematic students who have difficulty socially, but also perform poorly academically, so they don't fit in with the popular crowd or the nerdy lot. We have some of these every year: poor hygiene, greasy hair, long fingernails, that sort of thing. Immediately I could tell that they had been drinking from the way they spoke and smelled, and asked them to hand over the alcohol they had. One of the boys, call him Stuart, started protesting. He said the following, and I'm 100% sure this is what he actually said. Come on, miss, don't pretend you won't open up that bottle of Bailey's when you get home, feet up in your dressing gown watching the new TV. Give us a break. Either that's a completely random statement, or maybe he's a really good guesser, or somebody's got a stalker. Now, as soon as he said this, I felt my heart drop into my stomach and got cold all over. I had just bought a bottle of Bailey's Irish Cream for myself the weekend before the dance. I am in the habit on nights where I don't have much marking or planning and want to treat myself of having a bath and watching a movie or series in my dressing gown. My husband bought a new television over Christmas. I asked him how he knew these things, and he feigned ignorance, basically saying it was a lucky guess. I was so shaken that I left them, and a short while later they both left. But that night I could barely sleep, and my paranoia kept growing. I simply cannot believe that he would have guessed all 3 of those things. One maybe, but no way all 3. My husband is away for work currently. I phoned and told him about it, and he basically downplayed my concerns, saying I probably mentioned those things to my class at various points, and this student has just remembered it, but I would never mention those things. I just wouldn't, and I'm sure I haven't. I've become more skittish at home when I hear noises. I only live in a small house, but when I arrive home from buying groceries, I check every single room and cupboard before I lock the doors. I've also arranged to have the locks changed. When cars stop outside the house, I turn all the lights off and peek at them through the blinds. I'm having trouble sleeping. In class, this student is quiet and the same as ever, not completing homework assignments, distracted in class. My husband is growing increasingly exasperated and worried for my mental health than the possibility that this student could somehow know details of my personal life. I mentioned it to my supervisor as well, and she also basically reasoned that I had either misheard what he said, it was a coincidence, or a combination of the two. Hold on. OP's spoken up. Okay, first to her husband, who multiple times downplayed it, and then goes to a supervisor to show a concern and gets dismissed as well. So not only is she feeling threatened and like she's being watched, she's also being made to feel like she's crazy for feeling threatened and like she's being watched. This would be enough to make anybody crazy. What's the play here? I'm seriously freaked out and don't know how to even begin putting this to rest. There is an update. Before we get into that, thoughts. Crazy. We notice shit men do not always notice. We can feel the creepy vibe from a mile away. Yeah. The vibe is a thing. Guys, it's a thing. And whatever antenna is installed to be able to pick up on it, either like we just don't have one, or I just don't have one. Okay, so it's built out of necessity because you have to, and I understand that. But look, as your husband, if you had told this to me, you know the first discussion that we would be having, and that would be to make sure that you are physically well defended, right? Like physically protected.
You would not dismiss me.
I would not dismiss you. We would immediately do everything that we could and then figure out how to do more. Hubby fail.
Dusty would be visiting.
Hubby fail hard. I would begin working in the shadows quickly. Hubby fail hard. Supervisor fail hard too. What is happening? The people that she's supposed to be able to depend on here are the ones failing her. Like, what the? Here's the update. I wasn't expecting this post to receive so much attention. I'm really grateful to so many people who have validated my concerns and helped me develop a plan of action. I got home a little while ago, and I'm going out shortly with a friend to try to rule out Bluetooth and Wi-Fi devices with my neighbors. After that, the two of us will try and conduct a meticulous search of the house for any concealed devices, using the lights out phone camera trick some people recommended and some other tips I found online. Just to clarify, a couple of points that I've seen raised a few times. Dressing gown is a really common term here in England for what Americans might call a robe. It's absolutely common parlance. Is parlance a word? Parlance? Parlance! That's how we'd say it here. Parlance. Here, most people I know would associate a robe with something a wizard might wear. Understood. In terms of it being a lucky guess, if he had just said relax with a glass of wine, I might have assumed so. But the dressing gown comment plus the Bailey's comment when I had just bought a bottle and the explicit mention of a new television, which I am 100% certain I did not misinterpret, these things make it so much harder to write off as a coincidence. As far as social media goes, I have Instagram, which is set to private under my maiden name, and my profile picture is not of me. I am not in the habit of connecting with former students. I only have 3 who have all gone on to study English at university and have used me as references. I also have a Snapchat, which I only use with my husband and very close friends. I have posted nothing about my new television, and I also don't think I've mentioned this to my colleagues, let alone students. Certainly, I said nothing about the Baileys I just bought. Relevant comments? I mean, what if this kid lives right across the street and sees the trash that they set out? Like TV box, easy to see. Baileys, empty bottle, maybe. But no, it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. If the hackles are up, the hackles are up. The defenses go up too. Relevant comments. 1, is it possible that you or your husband were observed buying the new TV in the Baileys? The student's parents could have seen either purchase and said, OP just got a new LG 65-inch. I agree you should do a sweep for cameras or ask a techish friend for help, but that would necessitate figuring out how the cameras got there, which opens up a larger conspiracy. OP's response, how do I do a sweep for cameras? Genuinely want to know. Response, well, I'm in IT, but not that area. If there was a camera, logically, it would have to be transmitting, so probably using a Wi-Fi connection. I've read that skimmers in gas station credit card payment units can send data through Wi-Fi so the bad actor doesn't have to retrieve it. That Wi-Fi should show up on your phone if you look at various Wi-Fi offerings on your phone. You'd have to take into consideration closeness of neighbor's house and their routers, so it's a guess. How a camera got there is another puzzle. Occam's razor says to look at the easier likelihood. So can someone be looking in your window as you sit Bailey's in a nightgown and also noticed your recycle bin with your disregarded LG TV box recently? 2, I'm not a huge techie, but I've been around the block a few times. Your husband is being naive. And while I appreciate people trying to encourage you that the surveillance is happening via Wi-Fi or Bluetooth, and of course investigate those avenues, please also take seriously the idea that you are being stalked. Even stalking for fun with no malicious intent. I mentioned in a separate comment the idea of a dog, and there are also many DIY ways of alarming or otherwise reinforcing your house that don't involve tech if you look on YouTube, for example. Hope you stay safe. All right, there's an update. Update January 26th, 2025. I wasn't going to post an update here, but the number of worried people who have reached out to me made me reconsider. After a thorough search of my house, I found 2 devices. They seem to be camera devices. I don't know if audio is included. One of them was in the smoke detector in my bedroom, while the other was concealed in the wall of my living room. Looking at an old picture of my bedroom, it looks like the smoke detector itself has changed very slightly. I think that the new one is a device in itself, which the culprit somehow switched out with the old one without us noticing. The matter has now been referred to the police. If it wasn't for so many of you taking me seriously and giving me practical advice, I would not have had the courage to check, especially given my husband downplaying the concerns. Yeah, how's he doing now? He has been very apologetic and is coming back from his work trip early, but I've asked to spend some time apart and will be staying at my parents' for a while. Oh, that's how he's doing. Deserves it. I'm glad I raised the issue with the head at my school and a couple of others, as there's a paper trail, another suggestion from the thread. Needless to say, I'm completely shaken to my core, and I have the most revolting feeling of my privacy being invaded. I have no idea how many people have been involved in this, but phones have been taken from students, and we should have more answers soon. I won't be making any more posts or updates. Thank you again to everyone for affirming me and making me feel sane. Hey, hell yeah, guess what? Reddit is probably the only thing that prevented this woman from actually going insane. And how long had this been going on? And one of the kids had to be drunk to slip up and say something. And hubby completely dismissed it. Supervisor completely dismissed it. The only person or people or group that she was in contact with that did not dismiss it was Reddit. Validated. Tater, what do you think? The rage I would feel as a husband, like confirming that somebody was doing shit like this, would lead to action.
How do you know that the husband isn't in on it? Or the husband isn't posting video footage of his wife? Or that doesn't. Here's the thing. As a woman, when I go outside of my home, I am on high alert, especially if he is not with me. I'm on high alert to protect my kids, but if I'm by myself, I'm on even more high alert. And if I come home and I don't have reassurance and feel safe in my own home, then what the point is there in having this husband there who just completely dismisses my fears, which are rational fears? Because as a woman, you have to pay attention and you have to know your surroundings and you have to watch what's going on. And that is the world that we live in. That equality will never happen in those things. There will never not be moments where a woman does not have to be on high alert when she is alone in public or alone in public with her kids. When I am with him, I don't have to feel that way. But I would never stay in a marriage where a man dismissed my concerns for my own safety, because you are the one person who is supposed to want to be there and protect me as much as I want to protect myself. And it pisses me off so bad that I have to teach my daughters how to be aware of their surroundings, because it sucks. And it sucks that their safety is like, it just sucks. It sucks for women to have to face this shit. And for someone that you marry who's supposed to protect you, not to be there, like that sucks. That would make me want to leave that person.
His being suspect in this completely took me off guard, because I can't fathom doing that to the person that you pledged your love to and you're supposed to be doing life with. Like, you don't deserve her. You deserve jail time, and you deserve whatever's going to happen to you in cell block D, because those guys, when they get whiff of this, will take care of it.
It's and I didn't mean to derail the story from what it is, but God, it's, you know, I was at the store the other night and it was the first time. Normally it's like all of us, or Ava is with me. And I found myself by myself at the store, and like, you know, you just feel there's this level of fear that you feel when you are alone in a dark parking lot, car parked by yourself. Like, there's this level of fear, and that level of fear that is a norm for women really sucks.
And you got back home and asked me.
I asked him, I'm like, do you feel that when you're alone in a dark parking lot at night? Do you feel like you always have to be aware of like who's walking towards you or who's around you or what they're doing? And he said no.
No, I will naturally be aware of my surroundings, but I don't have that. It's not out of like a fear though.
Right.
It's not because it's not out of fear. It's out of just general awareness. Like, I'm going to keep an eye on what's going on around me, but not because I'm immediately suspecting people. You know what I mean?
Right.
Not because I have to fear. I don't go through that.
Right.
I don't have that the hair on the back of my neck does not stand up. You know what I mean? I don't get the vibe.
And it did. And it happened to me. You know, there was a man who gave me he was by himself and he walked out and he was walking towards where my car is. And I looked up because I heard footsteps and I saw him and we made eye contact. And it was like a moment where I was just like uncertain because I don't know who this man is. I don't know. And he's the only car that's parked there and he walked to his car. But in that moment, I was like, he probably feels uncertain too because I'm a woman by myself. And like there was this thing, but he did nothing, he did nothing wrong in that moment. But there is that fear where you're just the fear of the unknown, the fear that we've been conditioned in our lives to, because every woman has a fucking story. Every woman has been made to feel uncomfortable in her own skin. And I hate it. I hate that feeling. I hate that feeling and we all have a reason for that feeling. And I hate that part. And I think that's probably what makes me the most upset. And I hate that this woman didn't have the support that she needed from at work. She didn't have the support at home. Her neighbor and Reddit stepped up. Her neighbor helped her find the cameras, not her husband. The husband dismissed her, and which makes me think that he fucking knows something.
Yeah,
I don't know. It
doesn't
just
look good
feels
for
weird.
him.
Feels weird.
Does not look good for him. And regardless, he doesn't deserve to keep her.
Right.
You know what I mean? Regardless, he failed.
No, he doesn't. He failed her in a moment where she needed him to be what he was supposed to be for her.
Hey, Dusty Thunder here, and I wanted to thank you so much. I hope you enjoyed that content, and if you did, please make sure to like, subscribe, and most importantly, share. Also, you can find swag and so much more at dusty-thunder.com, and you'll find even more content on all of our platforms. We're on TikTok, YouTube. We now have an official Facebook page that we'll be posting stories to as well. We have podcasts on Spotify and Apple Podcasts and so much more. You can see all of our content platforms on Linktree, which is linked in my bio. Engage with us wherever you're enjoying content and do your best to avoid the Askonauts today. Thanks again.